It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 6, Episode 14. I am here with my co-host, Chris Natalini.
Hello, everyone.
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another show. Chris, how are you, my good man?
What is up, Mick? I'm doing okay, brother. Cannot complain. I am good, man. Good.
And you know what? Complaining does us no good at all.
No.
Nobody really cares.
True. Nobody cares. Nobody listens. It doesn't matter.
And it doesn't change a thing.
It doesn't change a thing. That is absolutely true.
Yet we all do it. I don't understand.
Well, yeah, because,
It's easy. We all fall into it. We really do. When one guy starts complaining, we're like, I got to up that complaint. Here's what I got.
Yeah, that's true. But I think, like, sometimes when you complain, you hope that someone goes, oh, dude, been through that. Or, like you said, like, oh, I'm going through this. And then you both complain together. And hopefully, you both feel good together because you're like, all right.
Yeah, you get a bit of a
we're
laugh
both miserable at this moment.
Yeah, you get a bit. I mean, musicians are held for that, especially when they're talking about, like, the woes of the road. Oh, yeah? Oh. Well, I did this, and this is what happened to us. And oh, yeah? And then it's back this. And then you start, you really do. I guess maybe at the end of it, you find it funny in that moment when you're talking about it to somebody else who wasn't involved in it.
Yeah, that's right.
And you start taking shots, and, maybe that's how we lighten it up. I'm not exactly sure, but...
Yeah. As I go through my day and, these feeds come through, on my social media and you read these, metal injections or blabbermouths or whatever, it's always musicians complaining. Always complaining. Very rarely do you see someone go, hey, I'm great. Band's great. Like, tour's awesome. We're doing great. Everybody's usually complaining about this guy or why I left this band or... Dave Ellefson's still talking about why he's out of Megadeth. He's been out of Megadeth for like 3 years now. Like, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah. I guess because there's nothing else to report. Because I seen an interview, and now I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like Brad Gillis from Night Ranger was talking about, I don't know, his favorite album, or it was like why he didn't like this album. Like, and we're talking about an album that's maybe 40, 50 years old. Like, really? That's newsworthy? Like, who cares? That's what you picked out of an entire interview with this gentleman who, was part of the whole Ozzy turnover, after Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
And all. An incredible guitar player with a certain skill set that nobody else has ever been able to kind of copy that sound and playing thing. And that's what you're talking about? Like, that's news? You're going to put that out on social media. That's your big catch thing? I'm not even interested in reading it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, he likes chocolate Pop-Tarts over the strawberry ones. Really? If you're hungry on the road, you're going to eat either one. And if they're free, you're grabbing more for the road trip.
It's true.
Believe me,
because 3 for $2.50 or whatever it is.
Because we've been there. You stay at one of those places that have the continental breakfast and everything's packaged.
Yep.
Everybody leaves with handfuls. Your hoodies are stuffed to the max with packaged
cereal
muffins and cereal bars and boxes of cereal. Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's true, man. It's really true, and you're right. Like, sometimes these articles pick up on stuff that people say that they're just the littlest thing that mean nothing. And they, obviously they just try to grab it.
Yeah. And they turn an entire article.
It's our entire article.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so much out there. Things that aren't really interesting, they're trying to make interesting. And that's everywhere. And I'm not exactly sure why that's the case. Have we really been dumbed down so far that the uninteresting is becoming interesting to us? Like the mundane, the everyday stuff? If Motley Crue's not fighting and they're not talking about Megadeth again or Judas Priest and KK and all this, like everybody just wants dirt, I really don't care for milk in my coffee. I felt that maybe it affected my playing or something like that. Talk about some substance. It's not even the artist's fault, in my opinion, because
I
see
this
it's
really
quite
not.
often.
It's really
I see this quite often because I interview other artists, and I try to be as interesting as I can with the questions like that actually pertain to maybe what they're doing, or I'm trying to get them to express their thoughts and feelings on either a particular topic, subject matter, or something that maybe happened in their career but someone didn't bother asking because they're not interested in that.
Right.
They want to hear more of the crap.
That's correct. Yep.
So a lot of it, in my opinion, falls on the interviewers, the media part, because they're not crafting decent questions. They're not even like, so how'd you get your name? Or I love this.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Tell us who you are, what band you play in, or just what's in your iPod right now. They're still using that question. 15 years later, they're still asking that question.
Does anybody even have iPods anymore?
I don't even know. Or no, I guess now they've recrafted it to say, what's on your Spotify playlist?
Spotify playlist.
I don't know. I don't have one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. To what you're saying, yes, I do believe that it's not the artist's fault most of the time. I do. I think these, websites need clickbaits to get paid or, for the clicks or whatever. But I do also believe on the other end of that, I do believe there are artists that they say stuff to keep themselves relevant or in the news, i.e. Sebastian Bach, Dave Ellefson, you know what I mean? Sometimes Gene Simmons or
Ace Frehley. Ace Frehley's been
Ace Frehley every day.
Every day. Now he's got videos of him shopping, and like now he's got tax problems, and Paul Stanley can't play guitar. I'm going to go back through that. This guy's been up and down, in and out. I've seen him live, even most recently, and I talked about it.
I was going to say, you saw him a couple of months ago.
His playing is not all that great. Hey, listen, you're wearing it on your sleeve. I'm a sloppy guitar, but whatever, dude, whatever. But we're still paying.
Yep.
But if this is the best album you ever did, then why talk about a band that you haven't been in 20-some years?
100%.
Because he's feeding into all those trolls that, Gene and Paul this and that and the other thing. And it makes him look... You're 70-some years old, I think. It's silly now, dude. It's silly.
It really is.
Listen, I got past band members that I can't stand. But at the same time, I don't want to talk about them, and I'm not going to give them the precedence
satisfaction.
of talking about them to the media. Airing out your dirty laundry, listen, that's not the thing. We know that there's a problem. Keep it to it. How about pay attention to your own stuff? And the truth of the matter is, dude, if it wasn't for this other guy from Trickster or whatever his name is, Steve, Trickster, maybe this album wouldn't even be close. Like, how much of it did you really do, and how much of it did you farm out to somebody else? Come on, at this stage of the game. It took you 70 years to get out the best album ever? Come on, stop it. Okay?
Yeah.
Stop it.
I agree.
Because besides Rock Soldiers, you know what I mean, and maybe Into the Night or whatever that song was, none of your other stuff is being played over and over again. Nobody cares about it. Nobody's going to care about this. That's why a majority of your live set, like let's say, I don't know, maybe 95% of it is Kiss songs.
Kiss songs, yeah. Well, and here's the thing too, Mick, like, a guy like Ace Frehley, like, okay, like Kiss is done, right? Like Kiss makeup, done. That version of Kiss is gone.
Yeah,
they're
Gene's
done.
already moved on. He's headlining festivals.
Gene's already like, but you know what? But that's Gene's solo. Like, there's no reason to even talk about Kiss now because Kiss is gone. It is over.
Well, listen, Gene's going to do 95% of Kiss songs too.
Well, of course he is. And why? Listen, why wouldn't he? But you know what? Like, my point is, like, Ace keeps talking about Kiss. Kiss isn't even around anymore. To me, I'm like, okay, bro, like, Kiss is gone. It's okay for you not to talk about Kiss. And same thing with Dave Ellefson every day. I'm like, dude, you got booted from the band, bro. I don't care why you got booted from the band. Whether I agree or disagree is a whole nother thing. But you got booted from the band. You did something stupid. You owned up to it. Okay, well, let it go, man. Let it go. You don't have to be touring the world as the best thrash bassist or whatever, bro. Let it go, dude. Honestly, like,
is he really? Is he really the best thrash bassist? I don't know.
I mean, I have a friend or two that live and breathe Ellefson, which is fine. Like, that's cool. But I'm like, I don't know.
Listen, here's the thing. Kiss could be gone for the next 3 years. You don't hear a peep from them. All of a sudden they go, hey, we're coming back and we're going to do a tour. Guess what? They're not going to book theaters. They're not going to book local venues. They're going right to the big boys, and they'll sell out.
Of course.
Ace, he's playing theaters and smaller venues. Megadeth, when they go on tour, they're playing the big places, right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Elfson's playing clubs.
So
clubs.
These guys can talk about it all. I mean, listen, Ace Frehley's one of my favorite guitar players. Inspired me as a player, the whole bit. But as a person, I don't know. I mean, look, KK, they're coming here. They're going to do their tour. They're primarily playing larger theaters type of venues. They're not playing clubs. At least it doesn't look it. But they're also not playing stadiums and arenas and big ass concert halls, right?
Nope.
So, maybe they will the next time around, but I doubt it. Right?
I don't think so. Yeah.
And KK, you talk about someone who's really helped craft my playing style. He's my favorite guitar player of all time. But this constant, whatever it is, again, these old guys, I don't understand. Maybe you and me are going to be there too. We're in
we just do it on our podcast.
Yeah, we're in the bitching stage. Then we're going to go into the crybaby wham stage.
We'll do it on our podcast. That'll be season 7.
Yeah,
season 7. We're going to air out all our dirty laundry.
Oh my God. You mean basically we're going to be doing what we do before we hit record?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. We're like, all right, I guess we should hit record now. We've been talking for an hour about all these people.
Then people will say, yeah, you know what? These guys are just as petty as the rest.
We're just as petty. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, listen, man, Sebastian Bach's another one. Listen, man, they don't want to get back with you. You could go out there and do the stuff. They don't want to be with you. They've made it perfectly clear many a time. They don't want to be with you. They don't mind playing these little, I shouldn't say little because that's not fair. These theaters, these casino.
Listen, I'd love to do that. Theaters. Listen,
seriously, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good gig. I mean, seriously,
it is a good gig,
and they sound great. I think they'd be content with if they couldn't find anybody, they grab some homeless guy off the streets. No offense, because they don't want to go back with Sebastian Bach.
They don't.
They don't care about the money that would. Nothing.
No. And they made that perfectly clear.
And that's what I don't understand. Sebastian is doing his own thing. That recent record that he put out, it was dynamite stuff. I mean, it was so polished. Well, the production.
Yeah.
He's out to prove something. Fantastic. Then do it, brother. That's what you've been doing. How long has it been? When was he out? In the 90s, right?
Yeah, it's been forever, bro.
Right. So
forever.
It's that's a whole nother lifetime, dude. You've been out of the band and living longer than you were in the band.
Yes.
Take some of that energy, get out there and play, because I watched that whole live set that he did at that festival a couple months back. It was phenomenal. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
But why hasn't he picked up a name guitar player or something like that? Why is that? There's a reason. Think about it. Either one, you don't want to pay. 2, you don't have the money, which is possible in both of them. Or 3, nobody wants to work with you.
Yes.
I don't know how he writes. I guess he's writing well if this is the stuff that he's writing, especially with his newer stuff. But vocally, this guy's amazing. At least he was,
great.
Right? If he's a phenomenal singer. Who wouldn't want to work with him, especially as a guitar player, saying, oh, my God, I can make all this happen. There's a reason why some of these artists don't get to work again, because they become too difficult. They start getting in there. He's probably so in his head, and I don't know, I'm just talking out my whatever, but you're so in his head, he's bigger than he...
100%. And, it's a shame, because he's one of those guys that comes from that era of bands that still sounds great. Where a lot of these guys coming out of that era, they don't sound as good anymore. And, he's lucky. He's one of the ones that he does sound great. I just stop worrying about it, man.
Well,
even
Skid Row. Skid Row, I mean, I had seen Skid Row back in the day several times, and, I mean, they were always a solid band. I mean, they were always a solid band. Good band. They had everything. Yes. Like you said, they're experiencing almost an upshot in their career, especially with the new guy, that new young guy that they got. Yeah,
if he can stay healthy, knock on wood, they're going to be amazing, and they're just going to kill it as the years go on, as long as my man can, God willing, stay healthy. And because he's great, the kid is phenomenal.
That's the beauty of that young blood getting in there. I mean, because you got young blood, talent, you got the energy.
It's Russ the Boss.
Take it down.
This is Stephen Pearson from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
You know, speaking of local bands from the Philly area, apparently they have a Dead End Kids Facebook group page or something. It just all of a sudden popped up in my feed. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. You know, they talk about all the guys and stuff like that and things. Now, there is a band that kind of pretty much gave the scene, the Philadelphia scene, and the extension of it kind of legs. And they were never able to amount to that next realm, but they inspired so many bands.
It's amazing to me that a band that no one knows inspired so many bands.
Yeah, they've even talked about it that they inspired the whole Motley Crue thing and so on. And so forth. Even some ventured to say that they were the ones that really kind of lit the fire to that Sunset Strip thing.
Yes.
I don't know for sure. I was a little younger at the time. I do remember my older brother was really into the Dead End Kids and would,
Yeah, mine too. Yeah.
So
yeah, my brother too.
I heard a lot of stories and things of that nature from that era. But from that point forward, a lot of bands were. I mean, they talked about even Rough House taking their name from
Well, that is absolutely true. Yep. Yeah.
So,
and I remember seeing Dead End Kids. I remember seeing them one time, and it was funny because my brother played with them, and my parents took me, because it was back in the day, your parents could get you into a bar as long as you were there.
Right, as long as you were there with them, right.
And I remember them. I vaguely remember, but I do remember saying to myself, this is really cool, but I don't understand what's happening. Like, it was, you know what I mean? Like, my young brain wasn't handling what it was watching, but I do remember thinking, I know my brother likes these guys. They're badass, and I don't know why. Like, I couldn't
process it.
I couldn't wrap my head around it. Yeah, but I do remember them, and I do remember Rough House changing their name and taking that moniker, from them. And as I got older, I find how many people were really inspired by the Dead End Kids, because when here in Philly, like, they were a Philly band, obviously, and we didn't think anybody knew them outside of Philly. Well, here come to find out that, there were a lot of people that they inspired. And it's crazy to me that they inspired so many bands and they went absolutely nowhere. Like, they're Philly's deepest, darkest heavy metal secret, because they didn't do anything. Like, they didn't go anywhere. They had this, they had this
draw, when they talk about that Sunset Strip and bands like Quiet Riot, like packing the house, selling out. These guys were doing it here in this area. It really is amazing. And there is video out there on YouTube. A lot of it's rough and choppy, but you do get a feel of some of the stuff, and it's all over the place, because you'll get some earlier stuff and some later stuff. Nobody really thought about when we talked about this before, the preservation of information. Nobody thought about stuff like that. We should get better here or do that, but because nobody thought about it. We lived in the now.
You're right.
But it is interesting. My brother was friends with Kelly James, and I know there was some inspiration from him and his style on stage and stuff like that.
Sure.
And like I said, late 80s, early 90s, even in the Philly scene, if you didn't know who they were, you were still inspired by them, because you were inspired by the people that they inspired, like Tommy Kiefer from Cinderella. So there was this kind of like sideways chain of inspiration. People like, not to go even further off topic, but that guy from TNT, Tony, he was amazing.
He was really good.
Amazing guy. I think he was from Philly. I think he played with a band called Precious Metal back in the 80s.
I believe that to be correct.
Yeah. So
I believe that to be correct.
I seen Precious Metal, and
me too.
I just don't recall if I seen them with Tony or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that at all, but I do remember seeing them.
Yeah, I seen them open up one time at the Empire for World War III.
Oh
yeah, that's when Johnny D was playing with.
I was gonna say when Johnny D was with. Yeah. Wow.
World War III was like my favorite local.
band.
They were just unbelievable. They were so cool. They really were.
Another band that never got their due.
Yeah, well, definitely Johnny used it as a springboard, and he did very well. Yeah,
and he did very well for himself. Absolutely,
super talented. It's an interesting thing, and that's why I've always talked about why hasn't there been an in-depth study, writing, exploration of what happened here in the Delaware Valley of bands. I mean, sure, we'll talk about, Twisted Sister up in the New York region and stuff like that, and maybe some of the thrash bands from Jersey, but Philly had such a rich environment of things that were going on. At that one point, we were a hotbed. There were so many big bands that were starting to get signed I just don't understand why enough hasn't been written, or more hasn't been written about it, or any. Believe it or not, I joked in previous podcasts about you using some of your connections to get that to happen. But I've actually been talking to different people, kind of like trying to put it in their ear and say, hey, what do you think about, wouldn't this be interesting? Because, there must be about, on Tubi and some of these other free stations, there must be about 2-3 dozen things about the LA scene, and it's really the same thing over and over again. Like, I want to hear about the hometown stuff.
Yeah,
and if you wait any longer, there ain't going to be anybody around. So
it's true. It's true. Know. The thing is, it's a matter of finding the people who will put it together and do it right.
Yeah.
Some of these documentaries I've watched are, guys with a handheld camera or a GoPro, and they're just talking about it. But you want someone to do it right. Like, you want someone that's going to do the history of it and break it down and find as much footage as they can. And it would be very cool. It would be very, very cool to see.
Yeah. So listen, you heard it here first on the Cosmick Voice. So even if you just give us a mention, that'll help our ratings. We're not asking for a paycheck, which would be nice.
Just put us in the credits.
Just put us in the credits, right?
It's all good. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Maybe take a clip of this particular episode and just play it real quick in the background.
I was talking about the Dead End Kids. That's right.
I don't listen. Between you and me, I know we know at least a half a dozen people that were involved in that scene.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And it's funny that we talk about this because at the time of this recording, I was reading that there is a potential Britney Fox reunion.
Are you talking about... Well, listen, every couple years you hear there's a potential Britney Fox reunion.
Well, I guess original 3 out of the 4.
Well, I don't think they want to work with Dean one way or the other. And I know a couple years back they were even having problems with... And, I don't want to talk out of school or make things up, but Bill was doing... his own thing, and people were angry about that. And so I don't know. I would love to see it. Like, we got to, when they had a little bit of a reunion a few years back, my band got to open for them, and that was just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I just actually recently interviewed Tommy. He's a great singer, great player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure.
It would be awesome. You know how awesome it would be that the original band get back together and they do that first album or some of their club day hits.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. That debut album was Columbia's highest grossing debut album of the time. Isn't that amazing? Like, you don't think about that.
Amazing.
But
amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
and like within 8 months, they shot up from playing Wildwood to they were in Japan with Bon Jovi and everybody else. It was an amazing time. It really was an amazing time.
It really was. That is 1,000%. It really was a great time.
I liked their first album, loved the second album, and even when Tommy came in on that Bite Down Hard or something, I loved that album too. Yeah. Yep. It was good stuff. And I'll tell you, when I got the opening for them and then them playing, it just took me back. It was just awesome. I didn't care for the lead guitar player they had. He played with Rat and some other stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? I wish they would grab somebody from Philly. That would be so cool. There'd be somebody cool. Like Jeff LeBar's son would be an awesome.
Oh,
I think that would be awesome.
I was trying to look for the article while we're sitting here talking. I didn't find it. I said that from the get-go. Once Jeff passed away, and I know Kiefer doesn't want anything to do with it, but the coolest thing would have been for like a couple shows, even just do festivals, the original 3, and then put his son in there, Sebastian. That would have been... They could have priced it out to the world, and they would have gotten the money for it. Like...
Yeah, I agree.
Because, Sebastian plays like him, looks like him, obviously. And, to see him play those, and I know he plays those songs. I've literally been in his presence and watched him play those songs with his dad. So, I know we can see them. It would be amazing to watch him and those 3 guys. And just, because, Eric, and we know Tommy and Eric are still out there doing it. Fred, I'm not really sure of, but, how cool would it be that they get together and just a couple shows, man, a couple festivals, even just to raise money for Jeff, and that would just be...
Listen, if Kingdom Come can come back with a horrible festival set, I'm sure these guys can, because they were an underrated band. Tommy Kiefer's an amazing guitar player. Guitar player. The whole band was really... even Jody Cortez, that unknown drummer on that first album. Maybe they could always maybe find him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway. Listen, we can wish. My grandmother used to say, wish in one hand and in the other, see which one weighs more. And you know where that goes.
I do.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
All right, so let's get to the topic of the show. And
Do it.
The topic of the show is going for the long haul.
Going for the long
haul in this music business. Chris, give us some
Yes.
of your insight on how artists do it.
You know, I have said this before on previous podcasts, and I'll say it again. Don't do it. Just walk away.
Go to
and
school.
wave goodbye.
Be a thinker,
That's right.
not
Go
a
to college.
stinker.
No, that's not true. I think that going the long haul, I think it's one of those things that, and this is what always surprises me about meeting artists and meeting musicians that just do it for fun. And I do it for fun too, but it always amazes me when these younger cats kind of do something and they're really good and they just stop doing it and they're okay with it. Because, and I've said this before, I've said in interviews, I've said it on this podcast many times. Like when I started this was for me, this was it. This was the long haul. I was doing this until I physically cannot do it any longer. I never thought about anything else. I never thought about another option. And I mean, I am a 9-to-5 guy. My bills are paid. Like I didn't do everything my parents said, go to college and get a backup plan. Cause who does that? I mean, I should say who does that, but nobody listens. But I mean, I've done okay for myself. I'm certainly not living the life of Riley, but I am living comfortably. I'm doing okay. I get to travel and I'm healthy and, knock on wood and I have a roof over my head. My bills are paid. And so for me, like I never thought about doing anything else, to be honest. I mean, sure. Did I have, these illusions that I would be touring the world and, living like this huge rock star? And sure, of course. I mean, it was a dream. It was a passion. It was something that I've always wanted to do. And now that I've gotten older, I've realized that, I realized a long time ago that that was never going to happen. But going back to our very, very first episode, what is success? Like, what is success to you? What is success to me are two different things. And the success to me that I've had now, looking back on what I've done so far in my career, I've been very successful. I've traveled the world and, not on like a major tour, but I've traveled the world. I've opened for some amazing bands, but some of the bands I play with have been inspirations. I've gotten to meet a lot of people. I've gotten to do a lot of really cool things, see a lot of really cool places. So for me, like, this is it. This is all I know. When I can't do this anymore, I don't know what that's going to look like, because right now it's all I've ever known. I enjoy it so much. I'm still learning. Like I'm still doing things I've never done before, which always brings a nice little kick to, this thing that I've been doing for so long. Well, I think we talked about it before pretty recently, or maybe in a recent podcast, maybe this season, that sometimes you bring in these new, if you bring in a new person to the act, sometimes it gives you that fire. It gives you a little bit of more, sometimes that person really comes in and is excited and brings this great ball of energy with them. It gives you the same excitement again. And sometimes newer people can re-inspire you to be better and to do better and to try different things, because now you have this person that is doing different things and maybe has a different playing style or just brings a different excitement to the band. And honestly, I'm going through that right now with both bands. I have new members that have brought this new wave of excitement and new wave of, it just gives you another push to keep going. Because you're like, oh my God, like I'm so excited by this person being in this band, because they're bringing new life to these songs. Or maybe new life to, and where I am at right now, it's new life to a writing style. And, there's these things that these people are bringing that just re-inspired me. And I go, man, like this is amazing. And I think we've said this before too, like everything is a step, right? Like everything that changes ends up being a step to keep going, because you keep getting remotivated. You're not stuck. There are things in life, maybe a new tour or maybe a new show that goes, oh yeah, this is why I do it. And it carries you to the next day. And then it just kind of keeps going from there. So these long hauls sometimes need a kick in the pants once in a while. And if you're lucky enough to keep getting those kick in the pants, you can keep going. But for me, like the long haul, I can't vision myself not doing it. I really can't, because my whole life has obviously been playing music, been recording, been going to shows. Now we're 6 seasons we're in this podcast and we talk about music, and I could talk about music 24/7. I mean, honestly, you put me, in a room full of people that are willing to talk, man, I'll go the distance. And especially you and I, guys of our age, my circle of friends, most of the people are a little younger than me. When a guy like you and I get together, we can talk about music, we can relate to things because we were both there at the same time. And so I don't know, man, like the long haul for me is just go till I can't do it anymore. Till I physically can't do it, or mentally, whichever comes first. Hopefully physically, because I would like to keep my mental capacity about me. It's all I've ever enjoyed. I can't imagine not doing it. So for me, it's just keep going and just till I can't. I never thought about it when I was younger going, man, I can't imagine being 50 plus something years old and still doing it, and especially still metal. I mean, and original metal at that. I see a lot of guys my age and going to the cover or tribute band route, and it's just not for me. Like, I just can't. When I started this thing, when I decided this is what I wanted to do, it was always about what I had to say. I don't really want to use my energy to say something else that somebody else has already said. I want to use it to say what I want to say. These older cats that don't want to play anymore, it's when they just turn to the cover of tribute bands. I don't understand. Like, to me, listen, I mean, that's okay. I don't begrudge them. I just don't understand it, because you're saying something that's already been said. Why would you want to do that? And I'm not saying that I'm recreating the wheel, that I'm saying new things that people haven't said, but maybe I'm saying it in a new way. I don't want to be saying something that already has been said. I want to do it my way. So for me, to do the long haul, I mean, we've talked about this in previous podcasts where it's been trying to get to the next one and to be re-inspired. And I think that all those conversations we've had comes down to this conversation we're doing today. Every little thing gets you to that next step, and I'm committed to it. And I think that if you're in it, you should be committed to it too, because I know what that commitment feels like, and it's pretty awesome when it all comes together. So for me, the long haul it's not an option. It's always been this, although it hasn't been what I originally hoped when I was younger, but I can say that I am okay with the way things have turned out. Obviously, there's been some bumps in the road that I wish didn't happen, but that's okay, because there have been some points in my life where I've been re-inspired to start again. And that's where I'm currently at, starting again. That's okay.
Oh, yeah. Regardless of the path you take, I think life is a series of starting over again, because we learn, we want to improve, and we do something else, or we change direction, right? But maybe the destination probably still the same in some regards. I think that for the long haul, especially in this business, or, really with any business, for artists, I think you got to get rid of the assumption idea, assuming that people are going to love your stuff, assuming that you're going to be the best, assuming that everybody owes you a living, assuming that you're going to be a big rock star, whatever. If you get rid of that assumption type of feeling, and this is from experience, you start appreciating, like we talked about in some of the other episodes, what you're accomplishing at that moment, what you have done in the past, and what you're capable of doing or will do in the future. I think that that's a crucial mark. That gets rid of that entitlement attitude that you and I talked about, that we feel that a lot of younger artists are experiencing or going through or exuding right now. But I think if we can get rid of that, we'll lose a lot of possible future disappointment and letdown we could have avoided, because it may not have been part of the package anyway, because assumption is a lot of made up type of stuff. It's our mind filling in the blanks, because we're all afraid of the unknown in some regards, because we don't know. We want to have some clearer picture. So if we can get rid of that, or at least curtail it to some degree, I think that the experience will be more enjoyed. And again, I'm telling you, that's coming from experience. And it can cause a lot of extra resentment and anger that probably shouldn't be there in the first place. If you just accept some things. And I think that would be the next thing, that you accept certain things as they are. That doesn't mean that you have to play that. If you realize, hey, this is the way it's going to be over here, well, if I'm going to play that game, then I go in knowing that. If I'm not going to play that game and I'm going to do it a different way, that's okay too. But I accept that this road, by not playing the game, may be a little bit more difficult. Or I may not get the same thing that I would get if I went and played the game. But if the game is an integrity thing, about your character, about whatever, then don't play it. If you don't mind playing that game, and you have to sacrifice some things like integrity, like character, like your wallet, then that's okay too. That's a decision you make. But that's accepting whatever you decide to do. Kind of like the old saying, you made your bed, now sleep in it. Sometimes it's about taking responsibility. Oftentimes I feel that people in general, artists too, they don't accept the responsibility. They want to have their cake and eat it too, so to speak. So I think that this acceptance allows us, again, to better navigate through certain things, because now we're not assuming. We're accepting the way things are, or the way they are in that particular aspect. And I accept that I'm going to go a different way. And whatever that is, because I made that bed and I'm going to sleep in it. So I think then once you're at that point, I think it's about being honest in yourself and what you do, that maybe because you are not playing a certain game or going a certain way, that things will be a little different. They may or may not be challenging. But if you trust in yourself, because you're being honest in yourself, you'll find that whatever it is you create, whatever it is that you decide to share with the world, will be more of you and less of all the other BS that you're just trying to appease an audience that's maybe not listening anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you're chasing something that you're never going to catch. Now listen, the reality of it is all of us are probably chasing something that only a few will ever catch. Right? We're chasing those stars. We're all more falling stars than we are rising stars.
That is 100% the truth.
And that's part of that acceptance. I've been falling for a lot of years. And because of that, like, I've learned then to have a more relaxed attitude about certain things. Like, I can joke about it now.
Yeah.
Years ago, I may not have been able to joke about it so much.
Yeah.
But now it's like, there is some funniness to it. Sometimes falling, you learn a lot. On the way down, like, you see all the people, you're waving to them, hey, how you doing? And at least you were there. You're passing them. That means
That's
at
right.
one point you were a little higher up. So you can laugh at that. Hey, guys, have a good time.
Bye.
I'll see you soon.
See, that's right. That's right. This industry constantly ebbs and flows, right? Was it Gene Simmons that said, be nice to everybody you meet, because those people are going to be the same people you see on the way down?
A lot of guys have said that, but
Okay.
He probably just said, be nice because you're stepping on them anyway. But some of us rise and fall much faster than others. Some of us take a little longer to crash and burn. Some of us have several backup systems as we're still going down. All right, let me click this, let me do that. And again, it all depends on how you're constructing your career, right? The long haul, for some people, long haul's 20 years, right? 20 years in and out, right? You did your time. Some people, long haul's 2 years. Some people, long haul is until they put you in the coffin. There's a lot of people that do that. Look at Steve Riley. His version of LA Guns, he passed away, unfortunately, before the album was released. But the album's coming out, or has been out now. And, it's a good album. I know that the band had put on a show or two with the release of the album and in memory of Steve for his time, and his legacy will live on through that. However, these guys have already moved on. They have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have to. I don't know if that's the best example, but the thing is nobody planned that Steve was going to pass away.
Right.
They figured this album's coming out. It's going to be a great album, and they're going to tour it, so on and so forth. But we come across these challenges or these obstacles, and part of that long haul is, how do we decide to move on from that point, whatever that is? Now, listen, not all of us have experienced passing of members, thank God, but it could be, like you said, members leaving, guys changing direction, albums tanking, bands breaking up, this didn't work, that didn't work, whatever, bands going bankrupt. Well, how do you decide to move from that point? And I think if you go back to some of the things that I was saying in terms of, and again, this is how I looked at it, stop assuming, accept some things. Sometimes just accepting where you are at that moment can give you clarity to go, okay, now I know where to go. Be honest and true to what it is that you want to do, what you feel is right, not that you're doing some unsustainable model that is not part of your genetic makeup as an artist. Like I've always talked about, like, I think I could probably do a death metal album maybe once, but it would be crafted. It wouldn't be me per se.
Right.
I mean, we did that Doom Groove with Hereafter, but it was me trying new stuff, experimental stuff for me, but still staying within the context of what it is that I do.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So,
yep.
like it, hate it, doesn't matter, but it was a fantastic experience for me. And actually, it didn't do that bad to begin with. So, there was a couple good songs that seemed to get some good rotation. So, to me, that's a success. Was it Metallica's success? No, doesn't matter. I accepted that. I accepted a lot of everything that I do isn't going to be Metallica's success, but that's not a reason not to do it. So I think that if we're putting some stuff together and we trust in the process because we're being true to ourselves, we will overcome these things, and we'll find that the long haul is a little easier to navigate than it's like you standing on the edge of a ravine and going, oh my God, I gotta, like this, it's all this before me. How am I going to get through? How am I even going to get to the other side? How am I going to get down? I'm not sure I can move, right? But you take it in pieces. And because sometimes when somebody who's just starting starts hearing about the long haul, and as you discussed, did you think you were going to be doing this into your 50s when you were 21? I wasn't even thinking of the 50s.
No, 100%.
You know what 100%. I mean? A lot of, like we talked
Yeah.
about before, when I was in my teens playing out in 20, it was that moment. I didn't think further down the line. I mean, we talked about we didn't save, like we didn't take care of reel-to-reel tapes. We didn't archive things because nobody thought about any of that.
Nobody thought about it.
It was right now. I think in the last episode we talked about we didn't know the business. We didn't even know there was a business. It was like,
right, that's right.
I put my spandex on, tease up my hair, put my guitar on, hit it up to 11, and that's what I do. That's my business. And then you find out what the real business is, and you're like, wait a minute, this is not, you know what I mean? I can't make this go away with more hairspray. Are you kidding me?
Maybe I should change my leg warmers. Maybe
That's
maybe
right.
a new color.
That's right. New colored leg warmers will make everything better. Leg warmers, you know what I mean? I was about 85, 86, but they quickly disappeared. Only a couple guys after that could really pull that off.
Leg warmers didn't last very long.
They didn't last.
With that, I think that having goals, having expectations, but not, like you were saying, realizing what your goals and expectations could be. Like, always shoot for the moon. Just kind of keep in the back of your head that, I'm going to shoot for the moon, but I'll understand if it doesn't go that way. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of like, just like the hereafter stuff. The second release was a little, and we talked about this privately, like, it was a little darker. We knew what it was going to be. We hoped that it was going to be this, but we were totally okay the way it came out because it got more, each release gets a little more love, a little more, because now, it was our second release. So it wasn't just a flash in the pan. It wasn't just something we were doing. Like, this is a second release now. So it's going to get a little more leg. And if there ever is a third, it'll probably get more. So we knew what we were doing. We knew what we were hoping for, but we also expected it to not be that. And we were okay with what it ended up being because we know that this is the reality of the situation and we're going to hope for the best. And we're going to be happy with what we ended up getting. And in the end, we ended up being happier than we thought because it got a little more than we anticipated. That's a great thing.
Absolutely. And listen, to me, any forward movement in this business, big or small, is a plus. Because how often are we actually stepping back? Like, we're moving. You could take a step forward and then you're pushed back 3 steps. But any forward momentum in this business should be looked at as success. And it is. I don't care what anybody says. 30 plus years I've been schlocking around here. You don't stick around that long, even if it's just independently, if you're not making small successes. Small ones. And that's what this is. It's a collection of small successes. And like you said, they accumulate, they compound, and people go, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I remember that. And, and then all of a sudden, it's giving you a little bit more staying power. It's getting you more validity in what you're doing, that you're just not someone who's just trying to rise to the top real quick with a couple of this, couple of that. How often do we see that with bands, and even big stars do it? They'll put together a super group and it goes nowhere. Nothing happens. It's really not as super as we all hoped it would be. Guys nowadays will be in like 16 super groups because it's just a payday. I'm not even sure if it's about the music, or because they're at a time in their career where they can work with different artists, because now that's more of a bucket list for them. Hey, I like to work with here. And hey, since we're doing something, let's release it, right? Because you're always going to have those people on the business side that go, oh, we'll invest in that. These are two names. Let's try to capitalize and make some money. Well, you and I don't necessarily always have that opportunity because everybody wants a payday now. And I get it, and I agree with it. You shouldn't be doing your stuff completely for free. In our level, we can kind of give and take what we do, because a lot of what we do is after 30-some years, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the passion and the joy that it gives you and the small audience that you have. And let's be honest, my audience is small. Yours is small. Yeah. Compared to, yours is probably bigger than mine, but compared to, Taylor Swift or Metallica, and we use those names all the time because they are like the biggest generators on Spotify. Their tours are like the biggest generators. So even bigger stars don't have the audience or the draw power that those two acts have. That's the reality of it. I take a lesser, sure, but you know how it works.
I'd be okay with it. Yeah,
I'd be okay with it.
I think too, and as I've gotten older, I try not to say no to things. Like I try to go, all right, let's do it. Let's see how it goes. And learning, getting this podcast off the ground, even technologically, is a challenge sometimes. And then I just go, you know what, I'll try it. And when people poo-poo it, or if they say, if they make a comment, I go, well, that's cool. You don't have to like it, but what have you done? Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like, honestly, it's like one of my favorite things. Like if somebody says something, I go, yeah, well, I have 2 bands, podcast, and what have you been doing lately? I mean, and you and I, like, listen, not for nothing, I don't care how many copies it's sold. Another thing to our resume is we're in a book. Yeah. And it's a very nice book. It's a very, very well thought out, very well put together book. And I go, yeah, well, when was the last time you were in a book? I mean, listen, did it, you know what I mean? Like, did it make Amazon's top seller? No. But if it sold 30, 40 copies, which I'm probably pretty confident that it did, I go, well, were you in a book?
Well, it actually got featured in several magazines, not just here in the U.S. And
so you know more than I do. Okay,
yeah. I mean, I don't go around wearing it on my sleeve, though. I do have a couple copies on my merch table that are autographed. But anyway, just in case.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea. I might be heading to Amazon today. But like that's the thing, right? Like I go, people can say whatever they want, but what have you done? Like, what have you been doing? Maybe not everything I've ever done is a hit, and that's okay because I tried it. And and I've learned through the years. Like I listen to some of my older bands, and I go, "Oh my God, what was I thinking?" But you know what? I didn't, and that just goes with being in this for the long haul. Sometimes you just got to think outside the box and do it. Again, like not to promote it, but I'm going to. When you asked me about the Hereafter project, I'm like, this is nothing I've ever done before. And you know what? Those songs are awesome to me. Like I listen to those things all the time because they're. Not just because I'm on them, but there's something so different than I've ever done. And I really enjoyed the process. And, I learned a lot making both records. It's just something that put spark back into my career that I went, man, I did this and this is awesome. And this is just something else I get to promote and to be proud of.
Absolutely. I think that at the bottom line, the long haul has something to do with your level of commitment. And however long your long haul is, and that's up to you, you got to commit to it for the best results. You got anything else you want to add?
No, brother, I do not.
All right, if you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmickvoice.com. Step into the Cosmickverse and fill that void, and find the secret link to download panels 1 and 2 of our Cosmic comic. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmick Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmickvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmick Voice. You can find The Cosmick Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of the Cosmic Voice. And you can get in touch with us through the cosmickvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmic Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to the Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.